Good evening. A very good evening to all of you. I'm very happy to be here. I don't know why they are giving me the momentum before even I could finish. Is there a message that I need to finish faster? Okay, I'm just wanted to set the context because we're going to have a very interesting roundtable. We have some excellent speakers. I believe this concept of unconference. I don't know how many of you know about unconference. Have you heard about this word called unconference? Yeah. What is it? Can anybody say about it? Okay, so the idea is basically, the collective wisdom of the audience is definitely bigger than any individual speaker. So that's the whole context. So people will be picking brains from each one of the audiences, and then that's how the conference flows. Somebody sets the tone, and everybody contributes, and when we go out, we go with a lot of wisdom. So, in my humble opinion, I have certain few context in terms of how this discussion will lead, and we have a very interesting person who's going to be leading the session as a moderator from Chennai, and my job is to just set the context. So, if you really look at the GDP of the world, it's about $100 trillion, and that if you see from Jan to till now, it's already 1% dip, because you all know that the global people are actually poised for a recession at this point of time. A very interesting concept is that as a CEO, all of us, we need to produce result, and result is something that everybody looks in for. So if you see, there's a very interesting book called CEO Excellence. It's done by research done by a few of the McKinsey senior partners. And what they are saying is around 50% of the global business. We're talking about $100 trillion, and 50% of that business is handled by 2,000 CEOs of the world. And what are their best practices? What kind of a mind frame they have? What are the different strategies they're looking for? So if you really see, they're talking about most of the CEOs, they don't work for today, they work for future. I'm sure everybody knows that they really look in terms of what's going to happen in the future. So I'm going to present it on a different formats here. First, I'm going to talk about the mega trends, what we're looking at, how the global CEOs, the Fortune 100 company CEOs are working on, and what are the areas that we need to be looking at. The second thing that we need to talk about is that I'm sure all of us know that the pandemic has really taken us to a different league altogether, and how fast are we responding to change that's happening around us, and how a young generation of business people are looking ahead in terms of taking their business to different league. So if you look at the mega trends, I'm sure everybody, a couple of years back, everybody was talking about Google, and the most interesting company, most valued company, and all of that. Suddenly, somebody has come to change. So we don't know what's going to be in the future. And the global population at this point of time is about 7 billion people in the world. By 2030, it will become 9 billion. That's what the research says. And 5 billion will be in Asia and Africa. I'm sure some of you are already doing business with Africa and Asian countries. That's going to be the future. There's an economist by name Peter Fisk. He keeps talking about if you want to do something in big, go to Africa, go to Asia. So that's what the mega trend is talking about. Everybody knows that China is the global manufacturing hub. They contribute close to about 25% of the world manufacturing. And the new trend is that everybody knows that China is mass production, and they also know that it's something to do with not much of a quality and things of that sort on one side of China. The other side of China, we also have people like Lenovo and all that. So if you see what's exactly going to be happening in the future, or already they are working on, is they are going to be recruiting German engineers. Everybody knows that Germany is famous for precision, and they make precision instruments. So with one side, we have the science, technically expert, and the other side, we have the mass production. How are they going to work? How they are going to marry together? How are they going to create robotic engineers in this field and working towards it? And I'm sure all of you know that data is going to be interesting, and every single thing that we are doing today, every WhatsApp that we send across, it's somewhere, somebody is capturing the data. A very interesting thing for the women entrepreneurs, by 2030, there'll be more women billionaires than men. And there'll be more of the women will be having their private jets compared to the men. That's the forecast. The very interesting thing about what's happened, the way in which the future is going to be going through is at a very high phase. People are talking about a fast future. That's the word everybody's talking about. So if you see, Netflix took almost 7 years to have the kind of a reach, and what Disney took is about 5 months. So that's something is very alarming we need to be looking at. And again, the online shopping. People were predicting that everything will go online and people will buy online. And this was before pandemic. And post pandemic, what happened 10 years in online shopping had happened in 8 weeks. So that's the kind of a change that we were able to adapt to it. So if you see, Dubai is one place where I keep going every month there, and every month I see something or the other changes. What happened in Tesla for about 4 months? This was in 2016. In the US, I saw Tesla showroom. The same year, December, we have taxis in Dubai on Tesla. The same thing. So we are talking about driverless taxis. Already a couple of months back in November 2022, it was test driven in Abu Dhabi. So that's that fast things are going to happen. I'm going to ask you a question. What are the biggest sports in the world? Can anybody say? Football, cricket. You know what it is? It's esports. It's esports. Okay? And there's a very interesting company called Fortnite. I'm sure some of you are familiar with this company. In 2020, the pop singer Travis Scott, he launched a song album, not in any of the auditorium, not in any of the open air stadium. It was actually launched in Fortnite. Fortnite makes more money in entertainment and these kind of a reach comparing to the gaming that they do. So that's a very interesting platform. I was not aware of the gaming, but the kind of a business in gaming is amazing. We were actually, I'm sure some of our generation was not up to mark in that terms of that particular scenario. Every company is looking ahead in terms of what's going to happen in the future. Adidas has recently launched a shoe, and which is going to be, monitoring the carbon emission that it emits, and 90% of the carbon emitted, it will be much lesser than any other shoe production in the world. So this is my favorite example. I'm sure everybody loves car here because we are part of Audi's presentation here. And everybody loves to buy Ferrari for the fastest. And this are some statistics that you must have seen here. 8.1 second for 0 to 9 miles per hour, which is close to about 95 kilometers per hour. So how much it takes? In 1977, it was 8.1. In 1997, it was 4.9. In 2017, it is 2.9. So what would be the next thing? 2037, we don't know. It will be much faster, right? So everybody knows about Ferrari in terms of automotive. Last year, they've launched Ferrari collections, and they are into apparel now. And what are they saying is, 3 years from now, Ferrari will make more money, more profits in the apparel division than automotive division. So what is the message that we are getting here is that as a CEO, we need to be looking at what's going to happen in the future, because everybody knows that we need to create the most valuable company in terms of shareholder value, in terms of profits. So what are we really prepared for that? So next 10 years is going to be incredibly challenging, and there's going to be a lot of change. Are we ready to go ahead and adapt to it? So I wanted to set this context. Leading change is one of the biggest challenges that all of us face here. Everybody knows there's a challenge around us, but are we ready to lead this challenge? So if you have to lead as CEO, what are the challenges that we need to look at? A few years back, there was a very interesting book called Breakthrough Imperative. How successful companies, one CEO goes into it, because of some wrong decision, the company has actually become bankrupt. The same way, there's a company who's really gone down, and how one CEO took it over and turned it around and make it big. So it's a role of the CEO, the role of the person who actually looks at it and drives it. So what are the things that we have to do? What is the role of an extraordinary leader is something that we need to be talking about it. So first thing, it starts with our mindset. We need to have a growth mindset. Everybody's talking about growth mindset. If you don't have a growth mindset, probably things will upset. So what is exactly some of the initiatives that we can probably look at it? I'm sure everybody knows it's something that everybody comes across this particular word. Are you looking at the opportunity? Are you looking at the problem? So same thing to cost cutting related to versus increasing revenue. So one of the things that I would probably like or come across in many of the clients that I handle with, something which we need to look ahead. So I just came back a couple of days back from Dubai. I work with a company called Bismi. They are into wholesale company, something like the Costco in the US. They have this combination format. The young guy is about 24-year-old person. It was actually second generation entrepreneur. He is actually talking about this particular initiative. His dad was running this business for 40 years in wholesale business. They have about 200 trucks going and delivering grocery products, frozen products for about 20,000 outlets in the UAE market, especially in Dubai and part of Abu Dhabi. But this guy came in, he's a tech guy, he's from BITS Pilani, BTech, and he started looking at differently. So he doesn't really concerned about getting up in the morning, going and coordinating with every single person, finding out what's happening and things of that sort. So he was looking at, if this business continued to be, I'm sure most of you know that FMCG business, especially in wholesale, the profit margins are wafer thin. And if you look at, maybe they do about business of about 4,000 crores in Indian rupee, but if you look at the profit margins, are wafer thin. So he was looking at something different. So if you see in the last 1.5 months, 2 months, everybody's talking about this particular outlet because they have something called combination store. Some of you would have seen something in Costco in the US. So greatest chess champion, we know this grandmaster is called, this gentleman actually looks at 15 different moves. To give you a comparison, Elon Musk thinks about 9, is one of his favorite games, chess, 9 moves at a time. So we as business owners, if we have to master the game, we need to be looking at how are we going to plan our future? How are we going to be looking at the next few years ahead? So there's research, and the research says only 5% of the CEOs of the companies, this is about Fortune 100 companies. So when they are looking at only 5% of the CEOs talking about future, just compare what would be the scenario of the remaining CEOs that we're talking about. Are we really looking at what's going to be in the future? Is a very big question. So if you have to future-proof ourselves, what are the things that we need to do? How are we going to be preparing ourselves to handle our team and other things? Everybody knows about disruption. We are talking about Amazon coming in, comparing to Walmart, and Walmart have to pay a huge price to acquire Flipkart, and they're still struggling to make money. And we're talking about all those successful banks like Citibank missing out on PayPal and Paytm. Everybody knows about it. So the thing is that what is the disruption is going to happen, and where the disruption has to start? It has to start with all of us, and we as CEO, we need to be looking at that at this point of time. Every day there's a lot of crisis, and how are we going to master the crisis is another thing that we're talking about. So when you look at, there's so many things are happening in megatrends. Some of the very interesting interviews that I've come across, Indrano, he keeps talking about it, that there's a practice in PepsiCo, there was a practice, and there is a practice that they keep looking at mega trends. And she tells that start looking at your business, how it's going to impact in the next 10, 15 years down the line. And start looking at it, and also do a comparison. Go back to Google and search for what was the mega trends in 2020 and what was it said in 2020, 2010. 10 years back, if you go and see what were the mega trends it was talked about in the research and what's happening currently. Did you really miss the bus, or it's still happening? So that's something which we need to be looking at and planning towards the mega trends that's happening around it. So based on the mega trends, we need to ride the wave. We need to be preparing ourselves to handle any kind of wave happens. And if you are lucky enough, and if you are prepared enough, and if you can really plan it well, you can definitely be the rider. That being said, what we need to do, because most of the CEOs, we know that majority of our time gets stuck in the day-to-day challenges. There's a firefighting everywhere around. So we will not be able to really look at the growth opportunity. So every single day when you get up in the morning, go to the office, you should start looking at how can you grow the business. If you have to address day-to-day challenges, then you can't think about growing a business. So that's where we need to take care of our people. And this is one of the co-founders of LinkedIn. He says that how much of a big strategy you have, if you don't have a people around it, you cannot win a game. The whole concept of people management is changed. Have you come across somebody called the world's least powerful CEO? Everybody knows the most powerful CEO. Who's the least powerful CEO? This particular person was the CEO of the Supercell, is again a gaming company. He's saying that if you look at the organizational chart, and he's at the bottom of the pyramid. So he says that everybody's above me. So I just coordinate. But having said that, his net worth runs into billions of dollars. But that's the beauty of making money. So one of the favorite things about Jeff Bezos, he keeps talking about, I constantly look at, is there anything that I need to regret at the end of the year? How can I minimize my regrets? So if I can keep on minimizing my regrets, that means I've actually grabbed an opportunity in front of me. So are you going to be regretting the opportunities that is there in front of you, or how can you reduce the regrets? Is a question that we need to look at it. Finally, I want to leave you with this thought. This is a very famous Olympic gold medalist, and she won many golds in every single thing, and she started at very early age. So one of the things that the coach talks about her is that she always compares herself with the men. So all her benchmarking is not with the woman folks. So she competes it with the men folk at the coaching. So if you look at even the gold medal, if you look at the ranking, there'll be almost 45 seconds difference between the first person, that's she, and the remaining contestants. So that's where, and she keeps talking about one single word, that is pushing your limits. So we as a CEO, I think that's the message for this evening. Can we push yourself? Can we all push ourselves? Are we ready for it? Thank you very much.